let's talk about three big picture trends. And I want to emphasize that these matter a lot for recruiting and for the labor market going forward. So the first, demographics. The US working age population declined in 2020. The US native born working age population declined in 2020 for the first time ever. And just our overall population growth has been slowing, right? Newer generations, millennials like me or Gen Z, are having fewer kids. So birth rates have declined. And we see the aging of the baby boomers, where the working age population is shrinking. And this is a big threat, especially to European economies and actually East Asian economies like China and Japan and Germany and France. Less so France actually, but like the UK, for example, those economies are experiencing these baby busts, these population declines, even more than the US. But for the US, it's a real problem. So demographics here matter a lot. And unless we have immigration, our working age population is set to continue to decline. Now, one factor that goes under the umbrella of demographics that I just mentioned that relates to the baby boomer generation is retirements. And retirements, looking at this chart here from a great economist at the St. Louis Fed, we see the blue line is actual retirements and the red line is the baby boomer trend. So we knew retirements, and we've seen it over the last decade. We knew retirements were rising. We knew the baby boomers were entering retirement age. But what really surprised economists was how retirements accelerated. That blue line shot well above what we would have expected. So there was a surge of retirements that, frankly, was one contributor to these labor shortages. However, unretirements are rising. So this chart comes from the Wall Street Journal. Last week, one of my old colleagues, Nick Bunker, at the Indeed Hiring Lab, does excellent work with BLS microdata from the current population survey. And so he has been tracking month by month, Nick has, unretirements. This is the percentage of workers who were retired, who then want to return to the workforce. And sure enough, probably in line with COVID fears subsiding, we see unretirements picking back up. So think of like Tom Brady, right? To use a funny example, or Howard Schultz, who came back to be the CEO of Starbucks. People are unretiring. And so that helps. But again, that's just a near-term phenomenon. To go back a slide, this big picture trend is a real impact. It has a real impact on the U.S. working age population, because yes, unretirements can help a little bit, but overall the long-term trends with the baby boomers retiring and aging is what to keep your eye on. Another factor that I mentioned, immigration. So immigration, yes, it is the key to the distinguishing feature of the US versus Europe and East Asia is we have historically been more open to immigrants, and so our working age population rose. But over the last 2 years, immigration, as I'll show you in a second, has really slowed to a halt. It frankly started to slow in 2016. But then the pandemic really accelerated declines in visa processing, in all types of legal immigration really have slowed to a trickle over the last 2 years. And the reason I mention is in the long run, we find that the foreign-born workforce in industries where they're most prevalent, where immigrant workers are most prevalent, are often those industries that have the greatest labor shortages. This is a chart from Vox, and it just makes a point that our immigration policies really matter.